My dear brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus, today we will study about a topic which is very important to both our physical life as well as our spiritual life. First of all, we will study about what is most important for our physical lives. Brothers and sisters, when I ask you what is the most powerful temptation anybody can get in this world, most people will say the temptation to make money. Well, that is a very powerful temptation. People fall when money is involved. People do many foolish things. Even in the Bible, the love of money is the root of all evil, we know. So money is a source of temptation which many people cannot resist. But that is not the most powerful temptation people face. Well, some say it is a matter of ego or self-respect. People will do many things for pride. We know Satan himself fell because of his pride. Many people do many wrong things and sin against God and destroy their lives because their ego is affected and they want to do it for their self-respect or honor. There are so many people in government and in politics and in business. They want to make money or they want to be in that particular position, all because of their own desire to safeguard their name, to have that important place or to be the most important person. So it is a very big temptation, we all know. Well, that is also not the most powerful temptation. Well, there's another temptation which is very powerful. That is the temptation to commit sexual sins. Now, that we all know is very powerful temptation. So many people, even in the Bible, we know Samson, strongest man in the world, fell because of sexual temptation. So many examples in the Bible, and day-to-day life we see people failing, and we have seen so many people being destroyed and who sin against God, all because of the temptation to commit sexual acts. Well, that is also very powerful, but that is not the most powerful. But the most powerful temptation anyone can face, in which most of us fail, is the temptation that comes from food. Brothers and sisters, the temptation to eat when you are hungry, that is more difficult to resist even more than sexual temptation. A person can go without sex for many days, but he cannot go without food. So food is one of the most powerful ways in which people get tempted. In fact, in the Bible, our very first parents, how they committed sin? They were tempted by food. We all know Satan made them sin against God, rebel against God by offering them the fruit which God had forbidden them from eating. God had kept them in the beautiful garden. We all know they were free to eat all the fruits of all the trees except one tree which was in the middle of the garden, called the tree of good and evil. Now, that fruit God had said you should not eat, but they were tempted to eat, and because of that food, eating that food, they fell into sin and they were cursed, and all humanity is cursed because of eating one fruit. Brothers and sisters, we read that in Genesis chapter 3 verse 6.
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her. And he did eat.
See, both ate of that fruit, because when she saw that it was good for food, so the attraction to eat, the temptation to eat is very, very powerful. Because of that, she ate and Adam ate, and we know what happened later on. Well, brothers and sisters, 4,000 years later, our Lord Jesus came to this earth as the second Adam to save all mankind that came from the sin of the first Adam. And when he presented himself to God as a living sacrifice in baptism, and after baptism he went into the wilderness to pray and fast for 40 days. And finally Satan began to tempt him. The very first temptation Satan brought to Jesus was by way of food, isn't it? We all know that in Luke chapter 4, in which Satan brought this temptation upon Jesus in Luke 4:3.
And the devil said unto him, If thou be the Son of God, command this stone that it be made bread.
See, he said to Jesus, command the stone and make it bread and eat. You see, that was such a powerful temptation, isn't it? That's why Satan brought that temptation to Jesus also. Just imagine a person has not eaten for 40 days and Satan is bringing this temptation. 100% of all of us would have failed there. We would have had so many excuses and we would have just made that stone into bread or tried to make it and we would have eaten it. But Jesus Christ resisted that. He overcame that. And of course we know what he said. He said, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. That means man lives by obeying God, not by just eating food. So Jesus overcame that. But brothers and sisters, that's an area in which most of us would have failed when we are tempted with food. There are so many other examples in the Bible wherein people committed many foolish things and lost so many blessings because they were tempted by food. And of course, if you see in the chronological order, the very first person that comes to your mind is Esau. You know, the sons of Isaac and Rebekah were Esau and Jacob. Now, Esau was the one who had the birthright. He was born first, and therefore all the promises that God made to Abraham, Isaac would continue with him. But he sold that. For what? For food. We know that in Genesis chapter 25 verses 29 and 30.
And Jacob sought pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint.
You see, Esau one day went out to hunting and he didn't find anything there and he came back hungry. You know, from that only we got the term hungry as a hunter. So he was very hungry, and here Jacob was boiling some porridge and he asked him, give me some of the porridge. You see in verse 30.
And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom.
And then?
And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright.
You see, Jacob is saying, if you want this food which I'm cooking, you sell me your birthright. Now, for Jacob to ask that, you know, we can understand that Jacob knew how he can tempt Esau with this food. He knew Esau was such a type of person who could not resist food. And in the same way, what happened, we read in the next verse.
And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me?
You see, he's saying, I'm at the point of death. So what is the use of having this birthright? He was not actually dying. Nobody will die for skipping just one meal. He could have tried to procure that meal from some other way. He could have gone to his mother and asked her father, or he could have done something. But he was not willing to wait for that. He wanted that food immediately. He wanted to satisfy his hunger immediately. And Jacob, he will not just take his word. He will ask him to make an oath in the next verse.
And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob.
You see, Jacob says, swear and say that your birthright is mine. And Esau made an oath and said, my birthright is yours. Give me that food. And just for the sake of one meal, he sold all the promises that could have been his. Isn't it, brothers and sisters? Of course, the same thing is mentioned in the New Testament, wherein some people are mentioned who are like Esau, who sold his birthright to satisfy his fleshly desire, the desire for food. Now, this can be fleshly desire here in the case of Esau, but it could be sexual desire also, because in the next verse he says, let there be no fornicator like Esau. You see, for sake of sex, people can sell themselves, isn't it? They can give up so many blessed promises they could have otherwise had. So here Esau sells his birthright for just one morsel of food. Brothers and sisters, in that we know how powerful food can be, and food can be the cause for our own downfall if we fall for it. So also in other instances where we know the people of Israel who were rescued from their slavery and their bondage and all their suffering in Egypt by God, and the people were brought out from Egypt by Moses, and God had promised them that they will be taken to a land flowing with milk and honey. But as they were traveling in the wilderness on the way in their journey, even though God gave them manna to eat, manna, he gave them free food, still they began to lust after other foods, tasty foods like meat, which they used to enjoy back in Egypt. And because of that, they began to murmur and complain against God. So much so, we know that God was so angry, and he gave them quails to eat, and they began to eat. He gave them so much that they began to eat, and while they were still eating, God's anger fell upon them, and thousands of people died in that place, because God was so angry, because they lusted after food like that. We see that in the book of Numbers chapter 11 verse 4 and 5.
And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again, and said, Who shall give us flesh to eat?
See?
We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers, and the melons, and the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes.
So they began to lust after food, meat and fish and other spices which they had in Egypt. They forgot how much they suffered. They forgot how they lived in Egypt like slaves in degraded lives. Now God has saved them with powerful hand after doing 10 miracles, and crossing the Red Sea, and all that happened. But still, now they forgot all that. They're thinking about food, what the food they were missing in Egypt. So, brothers and sisters, because of that, God gave them quails, and later on, God's anger fell upon them when they were eating the quails. We read in verse 33.
And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, ere it was chewed, the wrath of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord smote the people with a very great plague.
You see, brothers and sisters, God sent a plague while they were still eating, because they lusted so much that God became so angry with them because of their lust for food. Now, normally we think, what's wrong in eating? What's wrong in desiring food? But God was so angry because they lusted after this meat so much, and the way they were gouging that food, God sent plague suddenly so much, so that so many people perished there, and they were all buried in a place, and God gave a name for that place also. The name of that place itself is those who died because of lusting after meat. We see that in the next verse.
And he called the name of that place Kibroth Atava, because there they buried the people that lusted.
See, there they buried the people that lusted after flesh. So, brothers and sisters, today we see people lusting after food like that, the same way. And God is not happy when he sees gluttonous people. You have some competitions wherein people keep on eating so many burgers and pizzas, or in India, biryani and other things. There's so much food in front of them, and they eat, and sometimes they eat in two hands, and how they eat. People actually like it, but God hates it so much. God hates it so much that He destroyed so many people in the wilderness, and have written it down as an example for us, brothers and sisters, to take warning from that, and how God hates people like this. And even because of food's sake, people can do many wrong things. It is actually disobedience against God, doubting God, murmuring against God. Why they do that? Because of food, you see. So food is so important to them that it becomes more than what God wants them to do. So it's more than pleasing God. They want to please themselves. And such is the case. We have another very strong example in which a prophet of God, a man of God, was sent to the king to warn him about his wrongful ways and to prophesy him. And we know God sent him, and he came to that king, and the king was not pleased with the prophecy, and he stretched forth his hand and he said, "Arrest that man." But his hand got stuck. We know of that incident in 1 Kings chapter 13. But then the king could not withdraw his hand. So powerful was this prophet. And then king requests him to pray to God, and then he prays, and then the king become normal. And then the king will say, "Come to me to my palace, I'll feed you and I'll give you a reward," and all that. That man will say, "My God who sent me to prophesy has told me not to stop anywhere, not to eat or drink anywhere, but to go by a different route back to my home. So whatever you give also, I will not be able to come and take it." And he leaves, and he will be on his way back home. But as he was returning, another prophet will meet him. He is also a man of God, and he says, "Come to my home and have food, and then continue on your journey." But then this man says, "No, I'm not supposed to come anywhere and eat anywhere, because my Lord has told me not to eat anywhere, but go straight back home." But then that man actually lies to him. He says, No, God appeared to me in a vision and said, you have to take him and feed him." Why he did that, many people can't understand, but that was his over eagerness to be hospitable. He wanted to help that man. He knew that a traveling man will be hungry, and so he wanted to give him food and do something good for him, out of good intention only. But he lied about the Lord speaking to him. So this man, what he did, maybe that is true, and he was hungry anyway, so he went to that other man of God's house, and he began to eat there. And even when he was eating his meal, the Spirit of God came upon the other man, that is the host, and then God said, "You will die, and your body also will not go to your home." So that we see in 1 Kings chapter 13, verse 20 and 21.
And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, that the word of the Lord came unto the prophet that brought him back. And he cried unto the man of God that came from Judah, saying, Thus saith the Lord, For as much as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of the Lord, and hast not kept the commandment which the Lord thy God commanded thee, but camest back, and hast eaten bread and drunk water in the place of the which the Lord did say to thee, Eat no bread and drink no water. Thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers.
See, God's punishment came immediately, even when he was eating. It was just eating, but that act itself brought death upon himself. So later on, the prophet who called him to his house also will be very sad, and anyway, he will get his own donkey and make him sit on that to make his journey more comfortable, and he will send him on the way. But as that man was going through, a lion attacks him and kills him there. We see that in verse 23.
And it came to pass, after he had eaten bread and after he had drunk, that he saddled for him the ass, to wit, for the prophet whom he had brought back. And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way and slew him. And his carcass was cast in the way, and the ass stood by it. The lion also stood by the carcass.
You see, the lion came and attacked him and killed him. You see, it did not touch the ass, the donkey, but it killed that prophet. And it was standing there as like watching that body until the other prophet comes there. And then he feels very bad for what he did. Because of his lie, because of his compulsion, the other person had lost his life. Because God had directly told this prophet not to eat anywhere, and he should have obeyed that. Just because someone else comes and tells something else, we are not to disobey the Lord, isn't it? So oftentimes it happens. We are in the intention of obeying the Lord, but someone else comes and they change our mind. They try to influence us and make us change our decision. But God does not ask any excuse there. You see, and we cannot blame it on anyone also. So many people are preaching false doctrines these days. And many people are being deceived. But finally, in the day of judgment, we cannot blame it on the false preachers, because God will say, you had the Bible. You had so many good preachers also. You should have been careful in what you believed. So, brothers and sisters, this is another example of how a person lost his life. Even though he was a powerful man of God, a man whom God used wonderfully, yet he also died because of eating one meal against the word of God. So, brothers and sisters, we see enough examples, and of course, because of our liking to eat food, our appetite for certain kinds of food, we can take wrong decisions, and also the food can have detrimental effect on others. That also we can see in some examples given in the Bible. We know Isaac loved Esau more. Though Esau was a fornicator, he used to mingle with Canaanite women, and he was not worthy to be the firstborn. Yet Isaac had a special affection for Esau. You know why? Because of the food he ate from him. Esau was a hunter, and he used to go hunting and bring venison meals to him. And Isaac used to love that food, and because of that, he did partiality. Even though Jacob had better qualities, Jacob was chosen by God, Isaac loved Isaac more. We read that in Genesis chapter 25, verse 28.
And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison.
See?
But Rebekah loved Jacob.
So, all this can happen. Partiality because of this love for food. And also, Paul says that just because we eat certain food, because of our eating a meal, someone else can be destroyed. We can destroy a brother's life for whom Christ has died. We can destroy that brother by our food. You know, this is talking about food that was offered to idols in those days. You know, a strong person, especially who is strong in faith, he may think that that food is nothing. Though it is offered to idol, the food itself is all God's creation, and he can eat, and he may not feel that he is doing wrong. But by him doing so, if a weak brother sees him eating food like that, and he is still fresh out of idolatry, once he also used to believe in all those things and eat it in faith, and he was an idol worshipper, and now if he eats the same food and he eats in faith and he falls away, and that will be because of the man who ate the food. You see, this we read in Romans chapter 14 verse 15.
But if thy brother be grieved with thy meat, now walkest thou not charitably. Destroy not him with thy meat, for whom Christ died.
You see, destroy not him for whom Christ died by thy meat. Because of you eating that meat, that brother also took the liberty to eat, but since he was weak in faith, he fell and he lost the salvation because of your eating. So he says, don't destroy someone because of eating. And that's why Paul later says, if my food or me eating meat will stumble someone else, I will not touch meat till earth stands, he says. So he was like so careful about his eating. If our eating is stumbling somebody and we go on eating food, then we will be the cause for their destruction. Have you ever thought in this way, brothers and sisters, how powerful eating food can become? You see how destructive our eating can become, not only to our life but to others also. So in this way we need to be very, very careful, brothers and sisters. Of course, we know that of the 7 deadly sins, gluttony is one of them. That 7 deadly sins is not actually grouped together in the Bible as such, but all the 7 deadly sins are mentioned in the Bible, and gluttony is mentioned also. God hates gluttony. Those who love to eat more and more, gluttonous people, that very clearly we see in the Bible how much God has condemned them. We need to eat in order to live, but we should not live just to eat. Do you see that in Philippians 3:19?
Whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly,
See?
and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things.
See, whose end is destruction. Those who live only for eating, they'll be destroyed. That is what he says. Whose God is their belly. For them, their belly is more important than God. That's what some of the examples we saw also. Eating food was more important than obeying God to them. So their food itself became God. Their stomach became God to them. And because of their desire to satisfy their hunger, they made their stomach as their God. We see that. And the Bible condemns gluttony so much that God says that you should not become like that, and you should not be friends with such people also. Don't even be close to those who are gluttonous. We see that in Proverbs chapter 23 verses 19 and 20.
Hear thou, my son, and be wise, and guide thine heart in the way.
See how nicely as a father instructs the son, he is saying this advice.
Be not among wine bibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh.
You see, most of us avoid those who are given to wine, alcoholics and all of them. We should not be friendly with them, because if we are friendly with such people, they will try to influence us on. We also can take up drinking and all that. So often it happens. Once they were all drinking as friends, but now later on you become changed and you accept Christ and you give up all that. But you are still friends with such people, they will drag you into it. How many times it has happened that those who have given up drinking have again started it up because of their influence of their friends. So don't be friends with those who drink. Of course, we know that and we avoid that. But here he says, don't be friends with riotous eaters also. Those who are always after food, those who love food and always gluttonous. Don't be with such people. He says, because you will also become like that. There are some people, they are always there thinking is, what will I have for next meal? Where all to eat? They know about all the restaurants and what type of foods, and they are willing to spend any amount of money. All they do is just they live for eating. So if you are friends with such people, you will also become like that, and you will bring destruction and poverty upon yourself, he says. The next verse.
For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty,
See.
and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags.
So drunken and glutton will come to poverty. He says that is how you will ruin your life, by becoming a glutton. Today we have another word, we call the word foodie. Foodie means a lover of food. They always love food. They like to eat and gouge upon food. And there are so many restaurants now which are all you can eat restaurants. They pay in a heavy amount, a big amount, up to 1,000 rupees it goes, and more than that. If you pay, there will be tables and tables of food. You have a unlimited buffet. You can eat any amount of food you like, and all types of meat are there. And then after eating that, so many desserts there, all types of cakes and pastries and ice creams and all that. And people keep on eating because they have paid so much. They keep eating. And all this is abomination to God. God hates such people. And he says, don't be with such people. If you are with such people, they will also pull you along. And for their sake, you will go. They will always have some birthday party or some party, and they will invite you. Don't even go there, he says. Avoid those places, because God hates gluttony, and because that will bring you to ruin. Brothers and sisters, now are talking about physical food. We think what's wrong in eating. We say it is my body, it is my money, and what will I be doing wrong if I eat food? But so far we have seen so many examples. But then we see also one thing, that though we have a right to do many things, yet all that is not convenient to us. It's not good for us. And we should not become addicted to anything. That is what we read in 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 12.
All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient.
See?
All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any.
You see. So that's what people say. No, what's wrong in eating? I am not stealing anybody's food. It's my money and it's my desire to eat. But though I have a right to do all things are not expedient, means it's not convenient, it's not good for us. In so many ways, I will explain in a moment. Also, he says, we should not be brought under the power of anything. It may not be sinful, we think, but we have become slaves to it. So many people have become slaves to food. So we should not be like that, brothers and sisters. And many people say, God has created food for us, and God has created our tongue with so many taste buds and given us the hunger to eat. So what's wrong in that? I can eat how much ever I like. It's my body and I can eat. But actually, once we are consecrated to serve the Lord, once we believe the Lord Jesus and are baptized into Him, we are not our own. Our bodies are not our own bodies to do as we like. Brothers and sisters, we read that in 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 17.
If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are.
See, the temple of God is holy, and ye are the temple. And if anyone defile the temple, him will God destroy, Paul says. So we are the temple of God. We means our bodies is this. Our body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. The Bible very clearly says. So our bodies are not our own to do as we like. If we defile this body, God will destroy us. He says, we'll read once again.
If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy.
See?
For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are.
So which temple ye are? So you have to keep it holy. Means how to keep the whole body holy, clean and pure and healthy. We cannot put anything in that which spoils it. For that reason, we know smoking is sinful. Though the Bible does not anywhere refer to smoking, because those days smoking was not there. Yet we know that it is sin because it destroys the body, which is the temple of God. Everybody knows smoking kills. Isn't it? In every cigarette, the advertisement, the statutory warning is there. Cigarette smoking is injurious to health. Now everybody knows how bad it affects our lungs and our heart health and all that. And in the same way, alcohol also destroys the body. Now they used to say 1 or 2 drinks is okay and it is even good and all that. But now more research has been done, and they say even 1 drink can be detrimental to our health. So brothers and sisters, now everybody knows that drinking alcohol will make us weaker, and it will lead to coronary diseases and many other types of cancers and all that. It is already proved again and again. And that's the reason whenever we are sick and we get admitted, one of the first things doctor asks us before giving treatment is, are you a smoker? Are you an alcoholic? They ask that. Because for such people, the treatment will be different, because normal drugs won't even work on them, because their body has changed. It's become so damaged that they have to deal with them in a separate way. So there are direct link between smoking and drinking and our health. We know that. And brothers and sisters, not only that, now we have so much more knowledge. So many research has been done in various fields regarding human health, about our food intake and what type of effect certain foods have on our body. So much research, and people have proved it again and again. Doctors and scientists and dietitians have seen so many cases, and they are giving us advice what is bad for our health. And having all this information and knowledge, now if we willingly spoil our body, then we are defiling the temple of God, and we can be sure that God will destroy us if we do that. So, brothers and sisters, we cannot be such as who say that our body is meant for food and food is meant for us, and we can go on enjoy our life like the people of the world, like the Cretes. Paul says in Titus chapter 1 verse 12, were like that.
One of themselves, even a prophet of their own, said, the Cretans are all way liars, evil beasts, slow bellies.
See, the Cretans are liars, evil beasts, and slow bellies. Slow bellies means gluttons, always eating, always munching on something, always after food. You see, such were the Cretans. Now, Paul in those days saw the Cretans and he has written about them. But we know that not only the Cretans, so many others also are like that only. Not only the Americans, but Indians also. We see India is the diabetic capital of the world. Why? Because of their eating habits. They keep on eating. And this has led to so many diseases and deaths among the population. Brothers and sisters, we need to be careful. Of course, first of all, I need not go into detail, but we all know that God in Leviticus chapter 11 told his chosen people not to eat certain kind of meat or certain kinds of fish or poultry because they were unclean and unfit for the human body. One full chapter is reserved for that in Leviticus chapter 11. Very clearly God said, this is not good for you. This is not clean. You shall not eat or touch of it. So God has given us a list. But many Christians, they get deceived by false teaching. And they read some scriptures out of context and they say that now we can eat everything. No, nothing is impure. All things are clean. Our prayer will make it clean. Brothers and sisters, the same animals which were there are the same animals which are there now. And they have not become clean. Just because we pray does not become clean. When those words were said by the apostles, they were referring to animals which are offered to the idols. Now that, even though it is clean according to Leviticus 11, it becomes unclean because it is offered to Gentile pagan gods, and therefore your prayer will make it good. And also when our Lord says, nothing which goes from outside inside our body will make us unclean, but that which comes out of the body will make us unclean. Now he is referring to the unwashed hands, if you see the context. The Pharisees were seeing the apostles, they were eating without washing their hands, and they commented about that. And for that Jesus replied, what goes in will not defile you, but what comes out. Now he's not mentioning about eating clean or unclean animals there at all. It's about eating without washing hands. Now things can be taken out of context. Now whatever you pray and eat means, pray and eat that which God has created for us to eat. God has created certain animals for the purpose of being food. But certain animals he has not created for food, which is not good for human intake. No, that we have some basic sense regarding eating. We cannot eat everything. Will anybody eat lizard or cockroach? Even that some people are eating in China and in some places. But certain things you won't eat. You will not eat dog meat. Most of us won't touch dog meat or rat meals. Even rat are eaten. Frogs are eaten. But if you just think, it's common sense. What all these rats go and eat? They live among filth and in dustbins, and they eat all dead things. And if we eat that, all those toxins will get inside our body. Like for instance, a frog, it eats all types of bugs and insects, which are not good for us. If we eat that, it will destroy us. Very clearly. A dog will eat shit. In the same way, these pork also. Pigs, they are very unclean animals. They are always in the garbage. And they keep on eating, and the way they eat all these rotten things. Now if we eat that, it will definitely spoil us. That's why God branded all this as unclean, not fit for you to eat. So we need not have to think so much. God has given us a clear list. Just follow that list. Now the funny thing is, brothers and sisters, the Muslims who have copied the Old Testament, they follow these rules. But Christians who have both the Old and New Testament, they don't have a clue about all this. How sad it is, isn't it, brothers and sisters? We are children of God. God has clearly given us the word that it is not good for you. Still, if we are eating it, means how foolish we are. So, brothers and sisters, we have had a full series of studies on this very matter, eating clean and unclean food, and that is in the same YouTube channel. If you go to the playlist, you can scroll down and you will find it there. Anyway, not only that, there are 5 types of food which are very harmful for us. Today science has proved, and so many people advise us. 5 types of food. Now let me quickly go through this so that we will realize that not only smoking and drinking will defile our body, but all these foods are destroying our body, which is the temple of God. Now whatever we do, we should do for the glory of God. Whether we eat or drink, let it be to the glory of God. Now that verse, it's in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 31.
Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God.
You see, whatever you do, eat or drink, do it for the glory of God. So if we eat all these things that harm us and we become sick and have all types of diseases, can we be glorifying God? Can we glorify God being admitted in the hospital and through all these pains and diseases and not able to pay the hospital bills, and we have to depend on others, and for this sake, can we please God? Can we glorify God? Surely we cannot glorify God. You are so much in pain and your heart is not functioning, you have a heart attack, or you have a stroke, or you have Alzheimer's disease, or you have cancer, can you glorify God? What you can do for God? Living itself will become a big struggle, let alone being a living sacrifice to God. We should keep our bodies healthy, and we should work for God. We should glorify God in this body, not spoil this body and defile this body. So if that is the case, then what are the foods that harm us really? There are 5 foods. The number 1 food is sugar, sweet. That is very, very harmful to our body. Now, sugar means it includes even jaggery, which is another form of sugar, and so-called sugar-free are also very bad for us. It is now proved. And honey also. In those days, there was no refined sugar like we have this white refined sugar. They used to use honey. Now, it is not good for us. Solomon, in those days, he had very clearly said, see that in Proverbs chapter 25, verse 27.
It is not good to eat much honey.
See, it is not good to eat much honey. Honey may be good, but it is not good if you eat more. So, sugar is not good for us. In fact, we don't even need sugar, doctors say. It is not having any nutritional value. It immediately gives instant energy, but then again leaves you craving for food and hungry, and therefore it is not at all of any use. And in fact, sugar will bring in various other diseases. Is now very clearly proved. So, brothers and sisters, sugar is so bad for health, and it destroys us. And sugar, when we say so much sugar we take. Now we all like our coffee and tea, 2-3 cups of coffee in the morning and 2 or 3 cups of tea in the evening. This is a norm. Without that, we can't start our day. Now we all have heard that coffee is good, tea is good, green tea is good. Yes, coffee and tea, they are very good. It will activate our nervous system and it will give us the boost for the morning. When I get up and want to prepare something, to prepare myself, to give a speech or whatever, coffee is very, very helpful. But then coffee is good, but the sugar in the coffee, the cream or milk we put in the coffee, that is not good at all for us. Because in 1 cup of coffee, we need at least 2 teaspoons of sugar. And if we have 2-3 cups of coffee, in coffee alone it becomes 6 to 10 teaspoons of sugar. Now, how much sugar enters our body? So, brothers and sisters, if at all we need to drink coffee, you must have it black and without sugar and without milk. And that will be having very good effect on it. Now, chocolate is good. Many say chocolate is very good, that cocoa is good. But the sweet, the sugar, the amount of sugar in that and the milk and all that, that is not good for us. So, it is better to stick on to black chocolate or 80 or 90% chocolate. That might be good. So, more sugar is not good for you. Solomon said those days, now doctors who have studied so much, made so much research, now they are very clearly saying that we should avoid this sugar. Now, more sugar we take by other ways, like soft drink. 1 can of Pepsi or Coke or all these soft drinks, it has got 10 to 12 teaspoons of sugar. Just imagine, just 1 tin of Coke, it has got 10 to 12 teaspoons of sugar. Means just imagine how much sugar you are taking by just having 1 Coke. And also it is called the liquid death. It brings death, you see. And not only these sodas, but also fresh juice that we are used to drinking. We go to juice shop in India, everywhere you have juice shop, especially in summer, in which all types of fruit juice you get, freshly made juice. But the thing is, they add so much sugar in these juices. Orange juice means nobody will drink just orange because it will not be so tasty. And the oranges they will not be so good also. So what they do, they add sugar. Usually they add so much sugar in all these fruit drinks, and that is not at all good for us. And also, brothers and sisters, no need to say alcohol has got lot of sugar. Beer and rum and whiskey and all these are made fermented using sugar only. Wine also is very, very much sweetened for fermentation. So all these things and sweetened yogurt, and not to mention this Nutella or jam that we use for spreading our bread, and also all these chocolates which contain sugar, that is not at all good for our body, they say, and we should avoid. And the second most harmful food doctors say is not good for us is fried food, deep fried in oil. Now, oil is the worst food that we can take, doctors are saying, especially the seed oil. The seed oil, the sunflower oil, or refined oils, or so many other oils that we purchase, they are sold so cheaply in packets, and we use them so lavishly. But the oil is not at all good, it seems, because they are not pure, they are highly adulterated. Say, for instance, the sunflower oil, just for 100 rupees, little over $1, can they give you pure sunflower seed oil? They can, no way they can give it. They will definitely use palm oil, and we know palm oil is so harmful to us. And they will use industrial oil, it seems. There are so many cheap oils which people use, and they brand it and they give it, and we just use that so much. And that oil, especially when it is heated, it becomes very, very harmful to us, and so much triglycerides in our bodies, harmful cholesterol, all this is as a result of taking deep fried foods and too much oil. So, brothers and sisters, this oil has to be avoided as much as possible. And of course, deep fried things means French fries or nuggets, or when we talk about Indian food, kebabs, which is cleanly fried in this hot oil. Then that oil is heated so many times, continuously it will be heated. And usually when we eat outside, they won't even change the oil. The same oil will be recycled again and again. And they will be using this industrial oil, which comes in big tins, which are cheap oil, and which is very, very harmful to us. So, brothers and sisters, we need to avoid all this. And of course, the worst of all the deep fried foods are chips. Everybody loves chips. Chips and this other crackers. Crackers, like in India, we have so many snacks that are made out of deep fried oil. Now, all this are very tasty. We are used to it, and we can't go without it. Along with other food, we need to have these foods, but they are so very, very bad for our health. Also, the KFC chicken or 5-star chicken and all these are deep fried in oil, in high heat oil they are cooked, and therefore this is one of the worst things, because these oils that go in our body, it will not be flushed out in one day. It will stay in our body for days and weeks and months and years, it seems. It will form plaque in our fine veins, and therefore we will develop diseases later on. We'll have heart attacks and stroke and all this, because our blood is full of these trans fats which come directly from consuming too much oil. So that is the second worst food. And the third worst food is processed meat, or any processed food, they say. Anything that is prepared in the factory and boxed and labeled and barcoded, that is not good for us. Doctors very clearly advise us, because they use lot of sugar in all this, lot of these cheap oils. Palm oil is used in biscuits or nuggets or any fries that we eat. They are all full of sugar and cheap oil. and that is not at all good for us, brothers and sisters. And above all else, this processed food, they added preservatives. These preservatives they add in order to keep it from spoiling. Now that is not good. We should eat what is fresh. And if we eat all these preservatives, that will be very harmful for us. Anything you see in nature, it will spoil after a certain amount of time. In 1 or 2 days it will spoil. And that's how food should be. But if we eat things that won't spoil, like that means that is added chemicals inside, which will going inside our body will cause a lot of diseases in us. So all processed food, including bread, they say, and bacon or sausages, all these ready to eat foods, and most important is pasta and noodles. We all love noodles, spaghetti, you see, all ready made, and in an easy way we can cook it and eat. But that is all processed, and it has so many preservatives and excessive salt. They use so much sodium, more sodium, and preservatives are there, and you can imagine how much of all this in excess they use. And many of the chemicals they use are actually banned in many countries, but still sold in other third world countries. So brothers and sisters, we should avoid that. And fourthly, we should avoid refined flour. Refined flour is what is used for all these bakery items like bread or cakes or pizza or burger, is made out of this fine flour, which is not good for us. It is very clearly advised, brothers and sisters, all types of sweets that are sold in the bakeries and sweet shops in India. Now that not only has sugar but fine flour, which is not at all good for us. And the fifth worst food is high carb food. So most of the food that we eat now are high in carbs, and that is not good, because the carbohydrates which go inside the body, immediately the body converts that into glucose and stores it as fat in our body. Excess will go to be stored as fat. So high carbs, like most Indians eat rice in South India, in North India they eat wheat, and in some places they eat ragi. Now all these are carbohydrates, and which should be consumed in limited proportions. If it is more, then it will convert to sugar and it will be stored as fat. And that's why in India, because there are more vegetarians, there are more diabetic and coronary patients. And especially in North India, where more vegetarians are there, these diseases are even more because of their high carb diet and less protein diet. So brothers and sisters, there are so many foods which we just get readily available. Even dough is being sold. Dough means which is used to make dosa, that is rice pancakes or idlis. Now all ready made is available. Now many women find it very convenient to just go and buy it and just start cooking with it. But they add preservatives even there. Because if they prepare and it is not sold, they have to keep for some days. If it gets spoiled, nobody will buy. So in order to prevent that, they will definitely add preservatives, and that is not good. So what they are advising us is just buy it yourself. You cook it fresh and you eat it. Outside food is very, very harmful to us, because the people who cook in all these hotels, they are mostly uneducated people. They do not know the evil effects, how bad all these things are. When they add oil, they will not think twice before doing it, because they don't know all the details of their ignorant people. Most of the people you see on roadsides and small hotels and all, how much oil they'll be putting. And more than all, they want it to become tasty, so that customers will come, so that they'll get money. They don't care about your health. Usually the dosa prepared at home, when we prepare, usually they put very little oil in order to roast it. Very little minimum oil we put. But if you see in the hotels, they'll keep on putting it. And they make it so crispy and it will be so tasty. But 10 times more oil than what we use for the same dosa at home. That's why it is very tasty. But it is very harmful. And of course, no need to tell that there's so many fake and cheap oils and fake butter and fake cheese and fake palak. All this is all fake, it seems. Otherwise they cannot give food for that rate if you use pure ghee and pure butter and all that. So they use all these fake things, and therefore it is not at all advisable for us to eat outside much. And even if we eat, you need to be very choosy. Brothers and sisters, yesterday we went out to a food mart, and there, searching among the food to have one meal, nearly of the 25 or more stalls there, I could hardly find one stall in which I could get good food, normal food. Most of them are pastas or rolls or fried only. All fried fish and chips and Subway and burgers and donuts, and all this is not good food. Of the 25, finally I found one in which I had simple rice cake, and I could get some coffee there, and that's how it was. It's very difficult to find good food that we can eat in when you go outside. So brothers and sisters, we must be very careful, because this type of food will increase our weight, and weight, once it is increased, it will lead to diabetes, lead to heart problems, and it will give us fatty liver, and then we'll have kidney problems, and then our BP will increase, and we'll have stroke, and of course all this salt and heavy sugar will lead to cancer. Now cancer has become so predominant, so many different types of cancers, and we know once a person gets cancer, once it is advanced stage, how difficult it is, how painful the treatment is, and how expensive it is, and most of them they don't recover also. So such is the effect of these foods. And of course our HbA1c will become more as we come into our 40s and 50s. Our HbA1c, the blood sugar, will go up because of this trans food and these carbs and all this fast food, so-called fast food. We eat those fast foods, and all these diseases will come fast upon us. And HbA1c, which should be below 5 or 5.6, or it should be about around 5. Now people, it becomes more, 6, 7 and 8 and 9, 10, 11, 13. So much sugar is running in the blood, and this will definitely lead to heart problems and heart attacks, and liver will become fatty, and liver has got so many functions now that become dysfunctional, and then pancreas will be affected, and all this because of eating all these 5 harmful foods. And of course we know that the carbohydrates and fine flours and sugar and oil, that will be converted into fat and stored in the body. Some amount of energy will be taken by our organs, but the extra energy will be stored as fat in the body. And that fat accumulating, especially this pot belly fat we call in India, around our abdomen region, obesity of the abdomen is very bad for our health. Now we know that fat covers all our internal organs, the most important organs, liver, pancreas and heart, and all that the fat will cover, and it will disturb these vital organs. And as it becomes more and more, there will be more and more danger to come. So brothers and sisters, we need to take care of this body. How careful we should be about food. And we know that some young people, they say, I'm still young, can digest and I can burn calories and all that. But what we do now in our 20s, it will affect us in 30s. And so many people are getting heart problems in their 30s. And those who don't take care in 30s, in 40s it will show. Later on it will show. So if you are 50 now, and if you don't take care now, by the time you come to 60, it will start showing its effects. So, brothers and sisters, we should be very careful, because many of the diseases that we face are the food that we have taken decades ago. Many people who would have stopped smoking and drinking and eating like this, but the effect of what they have done decades ago will begin to show later on in their life. So, brothers and sisters, youngsters or elderly people or middle-aged people, all must take care of this. And then some say, I will eat and I will make exercise, I will jog and I will burn it off. Actually, 80% of the effect of weight loss is due to dieting, it seems. Only 20% exercising and all will help, but 80% is through diet only we can control our weight. Now that has been proved again and again, and of course in the Bible also Solomon says, you put a sword to your throat when you are seated at the table with the king. See that in Proverbs chapter 23, 1 and 2.
When thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee.
You see, when you're sitting to eat with a ruler means some big shot. You see, king or someone rich. Now the food will be plenty. Always the rich man's table will be plentiful. As Solomon's table itself was so much different varieties of food, all rich food. That is when you should be careful what you eat. He says in the next verse,
And put a knife to thy throat, if thou be man given to appetite.
You see, if you are a foodie, if you love food, that is the time you put a knife to your throat, means you cut your eating. Many say, I will eat and then get rid of that by exercising and all. But that is not going to happen. It's so difficult to burn calories, but it's so easy to add up calories. Now I was just checking. Eating just one jamun, gulab jamun is one small sweet, has got 100 calories. We get 100 calories from one sweet. But to burn that 100 calories, you need to walk 1 kilometer on the treadmill. I've checked on that. And you need at least 15 to 20 minutes time it takes to do that. And it's very tiresome just to burn 100 calories. But eating one jamun is so easy. How within one gulp we can eat off. And usually those who eat these sweets, they will not stop at one. Definitely they will go for second one and third one, and many times 4 or 5 and all. When they go to parties or wedding parties and all, there the food is all you can eat free. There are many people, they keep on eating. They go again and again and they fill their plate and they keep eating. So it's so easy to eat, but to burn it is so difficult. And they won't just eating, dessert. Dessert is the thing which we eat in the last. But before that they would have had the main course. For example, one chicken biryani will be around 450 to 500 calories. Now just imagine just from that biryani, and they won't eat just biryani. They will have some chicken kebabs and all. Now that is added to that. And on top of that, they will have some other side dishes also. And there will be some starters. And then there will be desserts. And usually with biryani, they have one coke at least. Now what will happen? All this goes inside. Easily it will come up to 1,000 to 1,500 calories also. All that we need is less than 1,500 calories per whole day. In one meal itself, a person can eat more than 1,500 calories. Now what will happen to those calories? Brothers and sisters, all that it will keep storage as fat. Very small percentage only goes off through exercise. Very, very small percentage. and the another small portion only will go out by our activities. Like now I am standing and talking, by we go about more on doing things day to day of life. That very small portion it will use up. Maximum usage of our energy is what our internal organs use. All our organs, like even if you are sleeping or just sitting, your heart is keeping on pumping and it needs energy, and it will take from this food source, right? The brain, when you are thinking, that needs energy. So our internal organs only more than 65%, they use up all these calories. But what if the calories are more than it needs? All that keeps adding up as fat and stored up all around our waist and all around on the whole body, and now that only leads to all problems: knee pain, back pain, and various skin problems, vision problem, and finally as you age, of course, Alzheimer's disease and coronary disease and diabetes and all these things will keep coming, brothers and sisters, and therefore we must be very, very, very careful before we put our food inside our mouth. That is the time to control it, because once you put it, there is no easy way to take it out. So how important that we should be careful not only to avoid all this type of foods, so-called junk food, correctly called as junk food. Now all this we should totally avoid eating chips or biscuits. Now these biscuits, they are totally sugar. Not only the sugar contains in that, but even the fine flour will become sugar once it goes in. So how much we should avoid all this. And brothers and sisters, we know person's BMI should be about 18 to 25. You know that body mass index for the height, how much weight a person can be. Now that is easily anybody can calculate. It should be below 18 is underweight. 18.5 to 24.9 is the normal range BMI, you see. But next is 25 to 29.9, that is 25 to 26 is overweight. So anything above 25, BMI above 25 is overweight, and about 30, that is from 30 onwards, obesity starts. Means obesity, in that there are 3 grades. Grade 1 is 30 to 34.9 is grade 1 obesity. Grade 2 is 35 to 39.9 is grade 2, and grade 3 obesity is anything above 40 is grade 3. So depending on this, we can know which category we fall under. Most of us are not underweight. Most of us are, I am sure, overweight. Now, I myself, I am a bit overweight. I am not into obesity, but still a few kgs more. Now, how to calculate mine? I am 81.4 kgs. Now, to calculate BMI, I should divide that by my height. Now, I am 173 centimeters. So, we have to divide by 100. It comes to 1.73. That we have to square, it seems. So, when we square that, we get 2.9929 or almost 3. So, now when I divide that, when I divide 81.4 my weight by 2.9929, I get a BMI of 27. So, I should have been below 25. Now, I have come to 27. Now, because of this only, I have realized from this month, the first of this month, somehow God made me to realize that if I don't take action now, it will keep on increasing. Weight will not decrease on its own. It will keep on increasing. It will not remain same also. Because we keep on eating, if you don't make any drastic change, it will definitely keep on increasing. It will not come down. Our HbA1c will never come down. It will keep on going up. Whatever you take year after every 3 months, it will keep on going until you become diabetic, and then very severe diabetic case, in which insulin resistance, so much so that the pancreas So much it is creating, but the cells will refuse the insulin. It will not take in that insulin and to control our blood, and therefore the sugar in the blood will begin to rise and rise, and this will eventually lead to stroke or heart attack or even blindness or death also. So brothers and sisters, we need to control all this. What we must do, we must take effect immediately. I decided from the first of this month, as we have just passed 6 months, this is a very important landmark for us. July 1st is the halfway through this year 2025. Now we have another 6 months before us. Now in these 6 months, the decision which we take will show where we end up after 6 months. Normally at the end of the year only people think of dieting and exercising and all that. But what if we start now, the beginning of this 6th month, the second half of this year? Now if we take these strong measures, then your standing will be better at the end of this year. Now therefore I decided to give up all these harmful things. Now sugar, first of all, totally I wanted to cut off, because the most important drink for us in the morning is coffee. I myself am habituated to coffee. I'll have one big mug of coffee. In that minimum 3 teaspoons of sugar will be there. Without that I cannot start my day. Usually I used to have that, and sometimes after 1 hour, I normally get up early in the morning to study and prepare. My wife gets up and she will prepare coffee again freshly, and she will ask, you need coffee? And then I say, little, you give me half a cup, then she will give full cup only. So again that I will have. And I used to have breakfast, of course, anything I like, I used to have. And after breakfast, another cup of coffee. And later on, around 11 o'clock, if I feel dull, another cup of coffee. Like this I used to drink. Coffee may be good, but think of the amount of sugar I keep adding. In each cup, at least 2 teaspoons of sugar. And if it is a mug, means it will be 3, and having 3 or 4 cups of sugar, how much sugar I was adding. And later on in the evening we have tea, and the tea, 1 full teaspoon of tea, and then I have another time, now 1 more tea also. Many people have 2-3 times also. I used to have, but now I cut off totally. Morning I just drink water, and then I have a black coffee. Though it is very hard to drink, I am not used to it. I will dilute it with water and then add little bit of lime into it so that it is drinkable, and I have that. Then I have lot of water, warm water, and then I go to breakfast. And then after breakfast I have just 1 cup of coffee with sugar. Because with food, when you take a little bit sugar, the glycemic index will not go up easily. Because you have eaten other food, it will reduce the absorption. If you drink on empty stomach, it will directly be absorbed, fully be absorbed. So for that sake, after breakfast I have just 1 coffee, and that's it. So our brothers and sisters, another important thing I realized I was doing wrong was I used to snack in between meals. Meals, of course, it used to be high fine flour and carb and less of protein. We are advised we should take more vegetables and more proteins and less carbohydrates. In India, we know we use a lot of rice cakes and rice dosa and idli, and so many things are made of rice or wheat. Chapatis or puri, and all this is wheat. So that we must reduce as much as possible. Add more vegetables and add more protein, and that is what I try to do. And then what wrong I should do was snacking in between meals. As I am at home only working, our office, everything is in same building. Every time I have that craving, so go and munch on something, this snack, sweets or whatever, nuts, whatever is there. And I used to get food and get it stored, all my favorite will be there. So just open the cupboard, take something and keep on munching. That's how I was. But then now I realize that is another very bad thing to do, because each time we eat, even if it is a small quantity, the signal goes to the pancreas to release insulin, and that cycle keeps on continuing. So there is no rest for the body, there is no rest for the pancreas. It will keep on releasing, and again the glycemic index will keep on be going. So I realized this, and I have breakfast around 8 o'clock, and up to 1 o'clock I won't touch anything other than just water. And in case I need maybe black coffee or black tea, but nothing in between meals. And I have my meals, I eat and then stop again until again in the evening. And normally what we Indians do is between our lunch and dinner we have this evening time where we have tea, and along with tea nobody will have just tea, they will have some snacks, and usually it will be deep fried, like bhajis and bonda and vadas. They are deep fried in hot oil, and that one plate we will have, and again it will pull on, and until again dinner will be usually taken very late, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock also people eat dinner and then go to sleep. Now that is the worst thing you can do to the body. We are told that we must have our last meal before sundown. Before 6 o'clock itself we should have. So what I did was, tea time itself I made it as my dinner time. Along with tea I will have high protein or some food, less food, and then from that time I will not touch anything. So the intermittent fasting will start from that time, and from that time up to next day morning 8 o'clock there will be this 12 to 16 hours of fasting. Now that is very, very useful to the body, it seems, because that is the time the body, if it needs anything for energy, food is not there. So normally when we eat food, the body will be using that food, but the already stored fat will never be touched. It will keep on increasing because we have more than we required. So it will go up in storing. So first we must cut down eating, and next we should come to a point where we stop eating and we have a big window of fasting. 16 to 18 hours is best, they say, or at least to start with we can have from 12 to 14 hours at least, because breakfast you try to postpone, as much as possible, a few hours later on, so that that window of fasting will become more. And that is the time when there is no food in the stomach, the body needs energy to function. So then only it will start pulling out the stored fat. It will start using the fat that is already there. So in this way only, this visceral fat, which is the most dangerous fat around our abdomen, that will get used up slowly over days and weeks and months. That will begin to use up, because otherwise if you always have food in the stomach, that food only will be used up. So we have to make the body take the energy from the stored fat. For that, fasting is the only way. So that's what I started practicing, and every day now easily we can skip that late night dinner. And then if you are very hungry, like if you are craving for some hot drink, you have hot water. If you want to have some cool drink, have cool water. So in this way only water, and then the body will start using up the stored food. And then of course, needless to say, exercising a little bit will help, but 80% is cutting down on our food intake, brothers and sisters. Now finally, to end up, I show you 1 minute way in which we can calculate our BMI without all this height and weight calculation I already told you, is using a rope, anything that you find with you, a rope which is equal to your height. So we need to measure the length to our height, and then later on we need to fold that into half. And now this we should put it around our abdomen, where the stomach, is the most protruding, there we must try to join it. So if we join, then that is the ideal weight. No. But if it touches, then that is, you are in the perfect BMI, we can say. Normally, if you see, there will be not just few inches, but almost a feet difference. It will not come and join. So much distance means that's all excess fat in the body, visceral fat, which is the worst thing. Now that we must reduce. So, brothers and sisters, the first part of this study is what is most important to our physical life. We have seen. God willing, in our next subject, what is the most important thing we need to do for our spiritual life also, we will see. And remembering one thing, that our bodies is not our own to do as we like with it, but bodies are the temple of God, and we need to use this body to glorify God. And remember, if we defile this body, God will destroy us. So let us not let that happen. In this new year, let us take strong decisions, and let us be in good health and live for the glory of God. May God bless these words. If you have found it useful, please share it with your friends and relatives, and may God bless you. Thank you.